Hello everybody, it's Kerry. Welcome to Piece of Paper. Today I'm going to be doing a scrapbook layout about when I went to pick pumpkins with my family a couple of weeks ago in the run up to Halloween. This was the sketch that I'm going to be using as a foundation today, which is from Erin Jacobson, and she also was picking pumpkins in her layout that she did with this sketch. So you remember that I don't work in a standard 12 by 12 format, so I work in A4, which means that my layouts would tend to be taller and thinner than a standard layout. So I don't ever use the measurements, but I'll be using the proportions for the colours, the different papers. So for this side, I've got the two big ones described in the sketch there, this one overlapping there. But I've got quite a lot more photos than in this original sketch, so I've popped a couple of pictures here because I'm actually going to use this photo as the title. I'm cutting out the word using the small alphabet dies pumpkins. I'm going to put that across the bottom of that page so it will say Libby's Pumpkins, and that will be our title. And then on this side you'll see there's 3 pictures in Erin's, and I've got 5, but I've tried to sort of make them in the same shape. The first thing we're going to want to do is have a look at the different papers. The 2 B's and C and D are the same paper, and E is a different design. That's what we're going to look at. I'm actually going to be diving into my stash to use some old autumnal paper that I have, but I've also pulled a couple of Stampin' Up papers that I think are going to work really well with this. First off, I've got this one from the Weekend Adventures, which is it's got the muddy boots, which I thought was suitable for us clomping through the mud. I love that picture, the shadows. So I'm thinking maybe this might be a foundational background page. So that's why I got a couple of pages out of that. Then this green is actually from one of the Market Goodness papers. It's got those flowers on the back. And I think it goes quite nicely with this paper, which is the paper that I want to use because I've had it for ages. There's a couple of different ones that I'm going to consider using with various amounts of leaves. I do like this one with the acorns on, but it is the busiest paper. And then these are a bit less busy. So I'm thinking maybe the muddy boots is A, and then probably the green would maybe be C and D, and then one of these leafy papers to be B. So let's have a look at the photos. I'll try and kind of roughly mock it up and we can see how we think the photos look. Always take a photo of how you're going to arrange your photos so that you can remember that when you come back. If we're thinking this would be the foundation page, and then this would be the kind of one that comes partly across the page. So then, as we like to say in scrapbooking, let's audition the other papers. This is probably the finest one, as in it's got the most calm background, and we have already got quite a lot going on here between the tartan and that, so we could be looking at something like that. And I'll just pop a few of the pictures on. I think you see the green works quite nicely. This is the garden green, because this paper's got kind of like an old olive and more of a garden green, more of that like kind of background, slightly greyish. So I think they look pretty good, and the photos will sound that quite nicely. I think we will need to matte anything that's going onto the paler colour. Okay, so that's option A, audition A. So then the next one is similar leaves but just more dense. Try and cover that one up. And I think that's pulling the green out more. Don't think it's too much. Let's have a look. And then I do really like this paper, but I'm not sure it's right for this project. I think that's too much. So I'll save that for something else. So maybe now if we try and split the two options to come out either side, we can get a feel for what we think. Alright, shall we just spread some pictures out again? I think that one's going there, isn't it? I don't remember off the top of my head where everything was going. In case it like that with the pumpkins and the pumpkins. And then these ones over here. Sky was supposed to put her face behind the pumpkin like me for this picture, but she decided to peep out. So I thought that was actually quite cute, that picture. So she can have it. What do we see? I mean, I think either of them would work. I feel like this one is lifting the green more, which might be a good thing. And then it's just sort of scale wise, they're quite similar to this paper. I mean, obviously, it is only really thin border. The other thought that I had was to maybe use a plain paper in the background. I wanted to try this because Erin had used the wood grain. And I had thought it might be kind of fun to just have a sliver of this paper with like the little boots to be this E walking up the side there, which could be really cute. I'm thinking maybe that's what we'll try. So I think I'm going to go for this one. I think I like the more green, and then the pumpkins stand out with that orange. So I'll have a think about what we could put in the background. I mean, maybe I do get a basic wood grain out. I'll have a look and I'll come back with some suggestions. I went to the Country Woods paper and I pulled this dark brown one out, and I actually really like it. I think that's going to work really nicely. I just was having a look at the sketch and I have only one sheet of this paper, so I'm going to have to cut this in half, but I think I'll be able to make it work because, as I said, the page will be more tall and narrow. I'm going to go and cut my papers now and I'll come back and we'll have a look at how things are coming together. I've cut the papers, nothing's stuck down yet. I've done this little piece with the boots, which I think has turned out rather cute. We're just going to have them walking up like that. We'll ignore the fact there's apparently bear tracks because we don't have bears in England. So what I wanted to have a look at now is where we're going to need photo maps and where we won't. You might have noticed that I had two photos the same in the layout. I hadn't spotted that myself, even though I knew that I printed out two the same. So anyway, this is how I think we're going to go. So now I just need to have a think about what I'm going to want to do photo map wise. I think these two definitely need mats. In the sketch, everything has a mat. I might try not matting these two, but I think everything else definitely needs to be matted. So I'm going to cut some mats. Probably going to go for the garden green. We can maybe think about whether anything ends up being orange, and I'll get all the paper stuck down. Okay, I've matted everything onto the garden green. This side I have all stuck down. I'm pleased with that. I love how the boots came out. Over here I'm still not quite sure though. So this is definitely matted, and it could go here or here. And then these, I haven't fastened them down to the dark green, so I wanted to look at them without the mats. That's them without the mats, and we'd have to go this way in order to fit this one in here, or we go this way a bit and pop that there. Now, per the sketch, there is meant to be sort of title on his embellishment here. I feel like this one definitely needs to go down this side, and that might be nice if it's a bit staggered, but I don't think you can have this one without the mat. So we put the mat on here. My camera battery ran out, so I had to stop, and I went ahead and I ended up putting the mats on everything. It just looked strange to have one with no mat after I decided that one was going to have a mat, but I like how that's turned out now with a nice little space there. And over here, now it's time to do what lots of people call the fun part, and I'm always not quite so convinced it's fun. But I've got here a few bits and pieces that I cut out that came from the same paper pack as this one. So I have this nice little thing which I'm thinking is possibly going to go in here, and then autumn leaves and pumpkins please. It's really cute, and again I've just cut that out and I've been having a play with it, and I think it sort of needs to go here, something like that. It looks a bit strange if you put it up square, but I think on the jaunty angle it seems quite nice. And then I cut out this little pumpkin that I'm not quite sure what I'm doing with it. And there's another one of these frame pieces with a pumpkin and a couple of flowers. And then these are the letters that I mentioned at the start that I cut with the small alphabet dies. And I want to put pumpkins here in this plain space on the photo, and they fit really nicely. I'm pleased with that, so I'm going to go ahead and get those stuck down to the photo because that's a definite decision. Got my pickup tool here, which is great for dealing with little small bits and pieces. I'll use that to help me stick the letters down. And then we need to think about what other embellishments we're going to use. I went and had a look for my dies and I found them, and while I was cutting out some various bits and pieces, I decided that these embellishment clusters needed a grounding spot. So what I've done is I've got the spotlight on nature dies and I've then overlaid them on just a regular circle, and I'm just inking up around the edge of these now because I had inked up the edges of all the other bits and pieces, even though I didn't do any of that on camera, so I thought it might be worth just doing a little bit now, just using the dark brown ink to just help things to stand out a little bit. Cover up that white core, which is great when you want it, but sometimes you don't. And then this is, as you can see, it's a really big circle that's going to go in that top right hand corner. And just because we've already got several layers of paper and then this is another 2 layers, I decided that I would cut out some pieces so it fits in behind the pictures up in that top right hand corner more easily. This one is to go in that top right hand corner, and then we've got this pumpkins chalkboard that's going to go on top of it, as we talked about. I might need my lifting tool here to get these in. Oh no, actually that's gone pretty well. So that looks about where we want them. Looking good. I did already ink up the edges of these, so these are ready to stick in. I did notice when I popped it in before, I'd got it kind of going this way, but I need it to go this way. I mean, just to balance out for the one that's going to go on the slight angle that side as well. So I think sort of thinking something like that. And you can just see the spotlight on nature dye just gives it a little bit more substance, so it doesn't look quite so random. I think what I need to do here is I need to put some card in behind this one because it's going to be up a little bit. This is the circle that's going down here. Maybe we use the foam tape. I've got this very thin foam tape that I believe is actually something to do with electrics. It's sticky on one side, but it's great because you can put the tape runner down and then peel off, and it's very thin even compared to a normal dimensional. I just like when things aren't too tall. So let's do 3 rows of this. Excuse me if my voice is a bit croaky. I have got just a bit of a silly cough. It's making my voice a bit strange. Don't feel too bad. Just sound a bit strange. And I don't want to have that last one too close to the bottom, because if you remember, they're going to come up over the edges of those pictures. So that's that one, and then I think we need a bit for this circle here. Maybe a couple of pieces. I'll put them down in one corner. Because the levels are going to be on the photos. Hang on. That's not the right corner, is it? No, it needs to be bottom left. For when it flips over. And then this one, I'm going to have this down here. Put away my strange electrical insulation tape. And then I think we can stick these bits down. I did discover recently that sometimes it's easier to lift up sticky backs with tweezers than with your fingers. Not sure why that would be the case, but it does seem to work for me, so I'm going to stick with it while it works. So we'll put a bit of tape on it along here, and yes, this side, this one's going to be touching to the photos. Now just make sure we get it in at the right position, because we're all sticky now. So we said we're going to go on a bit of an angle, cover up the white, but not just the white on this bottom photo. Oh yes, that's good. That's just the right thickness. I love it. Do the same down here. There we go. And this one, I don't want it to cover too much of the photo, it's just a little bit. Right, that's that. So I've got this pumpkin, which is one that I cut out from the paper. I'm not entirely sure where that's going yet. And then I cut out 3 pumpkins with my dies. I think I thought one of these would maybe go here. Now that one's on the lighter side of the card. And that's the darker. So I mean, the darker matches the actual pumpkins more, but I just thought it might be nice to have a little bit of variety. Maybe we'll do something like these. That's quite nice. And then I've also got the lines on the leaves. What I wanted to do though was I was just going to put a bit of ink on the pumpkins themselves. I think we will just get out my multi-purpose mat, because if I don't, no doubt I'll do something to regret it. Here I took the crumb cake ink and a blending brush, and I'm just going around edging up the ink around the edges and then gradually building it from the side of the mat onto the different pumpkins, trying to accentuate the grooves that came from the mat and maybe also apply a bit of shading. Right, and then I have also got my old olive ink here, and I thought that I would just put a little bit of that ink onto these leaves and the vines, because I've cut them out of the garden green, but there is, as we talked about, there is that old olive colour in the pack as well, so I thought it might be nice to kind of do a bit of a mix. Got a little finger dauber that looks like it's the right colour. Don't slide away. So let's just see what happens when we put this colour over these. I'm doing something similar here, but with the little thumb or finger dauber, you get a lot more ink on more quickly. So you'll see that the leaves turn quite a dark green pretty quickly. And then also just covering the vines to try and make the colours all blend nicely with the paper. And then I just get my cloth and clean down the multi-purpose mat. We were thinking about putting this here and here. Oh no, we weren't, not that one. These two. And I do like that. I like having that go around the corner of the photo. So I might put a little dimensional on that one just to get the height right. But I think it would be nice if we put a vine in behind there. So this is the longest vine. So yeah, maybe that. And then we can pop some leaves on. Right, let's attempt to put some glue on this super fine thing. I tried to do this last time, it went surprisingly well, so maybe I'm getting better at putting glue on super fine things. Pop that there. And then we have a couple, or at least a couple of leaves. Maybe we want 3 leaves, because we like odd numbers, don't we? If the leaves do curl up, that can look intentional, can't it? This one here. Kind of like that. And we'll just decide whether we want it to go that way. Oh no, definitely that way. It's always good when there's obviously a right answer, isn't it? Right, so we're going to go kind of there. Gotcha. Right, so let's put a bit of tape runner on the back of this one. And maybe a smidge of glue up the stalk. Nearer to the bottom, please. There we go, that's better. And then I want a little dimensional for this small little pumpkin. I think a regular one will be okay. Let's have a look. Oh yes, perfect. So we can peel this off, because somehow that really works for me. And I'm just going to do glue here because we might want to slide it a little bit, and that will help us with the leaves and the stalk. So we want you kind of here, I think. So now we just got this one over here, and I brought this more round one for this one, and we have got a bit of vine and a leaf we can maybe curl somehow. I've also got this little chalkboard piece, but I'm not sure if it's getting a bit much. I don't think it's quite right. Let's just go over here, because I mean, you know, threes are good, as we were just saying. Maybe we could do something like that with a leaf. Actually, maybe, yeah. And then we've got the frames in the 3 places, which is why I cut the 3 out in the first place, because obviously 3 usually works. Try and get some little bits of glue. This one we were having kind of coming around, I think, weren't we? Now we'll put some glue on the right hand side of the pumpkin, because we might need a bit of foam tape or a dimensional on the left hand side. Coming like that, yeah. That was it, wasn't it? And then the stylishly curled leaf. Maybe I'll go back and stylishly curl the leaves just for a style. I think we're going to put you there-ish. And then if we want this to overlap, this is going to need some of that tape, isn't it? A couple of short bits. As it's turned over towards the bottom right. And the tweezers again. Looking good. And we're going to put you in first. And then it's just a case of, does that pumpkin the dimensional? There we go. So, nearly forgot to do gems. Eventually I will learn to stop forgetting, but I really like this green here. It looks really nice with the garden green, and then these two are two different oranges that I think will just pull it all together. So now I'm going through attaching the various different gems in the various different embellishment clusters, trying to mix the colours and the sizes across the different clusters, kind of trying to use the old olive and then that brighter orange and then that sort of Cajun craze in the different places. And after I've done all three clusters, I decide that I want to add a few more gems around the top left hand side. I wouldn't usually do gems around 4 clusters, but it just felt it needed a little bit extra there. Okay, now we'll pick it up for you to have a look. So you can see the gems and the title on the photo, that little embellishment cluster down there. Got that cluster at the top and another little one with the vines down the bottom. That's us done for today. If you've enjoyed it, give it a like and come back and see me again. Thank you. Bye bye.